Story time about my toxic ex-best friend. So a little background information. I had a very close guy friend who we're gonna call Max. Now, Max was 2 years older than me, but due to our families being super close, him and I became best friends. Growing up, I saw him as kind of an older brother, and then eventually as we grew up, I saw him as my best friend, until I realized that he was actually a terrible person, and I missed all of the signs that he was not a real friend. Like one, our first fight, I told him something that I didn't want anybody else knowing. And what do you know, right after I tell him, my family knows, his family knows, my crush knows, all of our friends know. After this, I probably should have distanced myself, but he apologized and we became friends again. That was sign number one. Sign number two, his huge change in attitude. 1 second, he would be extremely rude to me, and then he would be this really sweet and caring guy, and his apologies were the best. So it was really hard not to forgive him. He was like a master manipulator. Number three, we only talked whenever it was convenient for him. Like seriously, we would never talk unless he needed something, like for part two. Part two about my toxic ex-best friend. I think we left off on sign number three, which was the only time that we would talk was when it was convenient for him. He would never reach out, which left me being the one who was constantly trying to preserve our friendship or whatever was left of it. Like all of our messages were literally me, and it made me seem really needy and like I was putting in way too much effort because he would literally answer with the most simple messages. Like, yeah, okay, sure. And he would only talk to me whenever he wasn't with his friends. Sign number four. It felt like he was embarrassed of me. Now, I know that I was 2 years younger than him, but we were still friends, and I really don't think that's that much of a difference. Like, he would never want to be seen with me. The last sign, he would literally always talk about me behind my back. And I thought this was just rumors at first, until finally several people told me that it was not a rumor. He would say things like, oh, she's ugly, she's so immature, she's annoying and childish, she's so annoying. And then I finally decided to cut him off. Because if the bad outweighed the good, was it really worth keeping that person in my life?
And my best friend breakup story time is probably my craziest and most hard story to tell, and I've waited a very long time to tell this story. To be honest, I was never going to tell this story, and then I decided last night while I was about to work out, this Wellbutrin got me wanting to tell a story. I met this girl in middle school. I met her when we were really young, and to me, she always came across like a twat. But I came across like a twat too, so I was like, maybe we'll be best friends. Like, you seem so cool, but I'm too nervous to talk to you. Anyways, then we had English together. We both hated the teacher. We both never shut up. And so we would like giggle at each other's jokes and then be silent. But then one day, it was like the last day of school. And then she came up to me and was like, do you want to go to Starbucks? And I was like, yeah, I do want to go to Starbucks. We went to Starbucks. And then after that, we hung out every single day of our lives up until the time we were 22. We had maybe 1 year in our lives where we weren't really friends. And then it was right back to it every single day, all day. I would show pictures of us to prove how we were literally dating essentially, but I really don't want you guys to figure out who this is. I'm gonna be so honest, it's so hard to talk positively of her right now. But to be frank, I did think she was like literally my soulmate in friends form. Like we would always tell each other that we were each other's soulmates. We were literally in love with each other. If I was going somewhere, she was coming. If she had a doctor's appointment, I was taking her to it. If she needed somewhere to sleep, I was having her sleep over. If she needed a bed, I gave her like 3 beds. However, babe, it was toxic because at a certain point, I was getting taken advantage of. She was telling all my deepest, darkest secrets to other friends. And then she became friends with my partner. They worked together and they got really, really close. And it was cool for me at first because I was like, oh my God, they work together. Like, how cutesy pootsy is that? No, it's not cutesy pootsy, babe. It gets funky fast. She started like lying to him, telling him that I was cheating on him. And of course he's gonna believe her because that's like my best friend. Like, why? I also told her that I was struggling with my ED again, very much in confidence. And she told him at work. I bet you're thinking, oh wow, that's shady. Even more shady, she started to fall in love with him. I remember one night on Halloween, I like was starting to catch the vibes because you catch the vibes, babe. You know when someone is like feeling your man. She had gotten really freaking drunk on Halloween night and then was like, where is blah, blah, blah? I need blah, 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 blah being my man. And then when he went over to her because he felt sympathy for her because she was really drunk, she held his hand and stared him in the eyes. And I remember being like, oh, I'm going to myself. Ultimately, I blatantly asked her, like, are you feeling my man? And she's like, no. Well, she was. I won't go into detail, but just know that she was. I ended up getting her fired on purpose because I was being petty. And immediately after, I ended up blowing up on TikTok and making this my full-time job. Obviously, that's not the entire story, but I emotionally can't really handle talking about the entire story yet. Friendship breakups are really hard, and like it affected how I looked at friends for a long time. But it made me a better person, so hey.
A lot of you guys were saying stuff like this and how my parents were not strict throughout high school. And honestly, they weren't that strict. Like, I'll give you that. So when I was in grade 9, I wasn't allowed Snapchat until I turned 18. But I was in grade 9 in 2016, and that is when Snapchat, like, had all the hype. Like, everyone was using it. Okay. So obviously, I downloaded it anyway and made an account. I would have to give my phone to my dad before I went to bed every night, and he would plug it in. I would download the app, and then I would delete it, like, every time I wasn't using it. Probably downloaded and deleted that app, like, hundreds of times a day. So most of the time I would just go in the bathroom and download it in Snapchat for, like, 10 minutes, and then leave the bathroom and delete the app. So I was in the bathroom, like, all the time. My dad also had my login info for Instagram, so I had to make sure that nobody spoke about my Snapchat account through, like, direct messages or something, because he would see it. So one day he found out. I got in so much trouble. He took away my phone for, like, actually for months. I was, like, so upset though, so I decided to write an essay on why I should be allowed Snapchat, and I literally gave it to him. I probably have a copy of it somewhere. Oh my god, I think I wrote it on, like, Google Docs or something. So I'm not even kidding though, like, I literally wrote an essay, printed it, and then I slid it under his door and was like, here you go, like, please consider this offer. And he did. He took, like, a month to decide, and then he was like, okay, fine, you can have it, but only if I can have your login info and I can log in and, like, check in on you, like, through it. I was like, fine, Kate, whatever you have to do, like, as long as I can have it. But then I started getting logged out of my Snapchat account, like, while I was using it, and I'm like, okay, this is really weird. One day I was just Snapchatting this guy that I was talking to, and then all of a sudden I got logged out. I was like, oh. So then I logged back in, and his Snapchat was already opened, and then I got a text from my dad. He was just like, who's his name? And I was like, I don't remember what I said. I think I said, like, oh, he's just a friend or something. And he was like, okay, well then why did he Snapchat you and say you look pretty today with a heart? And I was like, I had never been more embarrassed in my life. So I texted this guy instead of Snapchat, and I was like, by the way, my dad just opened your Snap, so, like, don't say anything. But yeah, he would log in, like, multiple times a day, and it really annoyed me because then I couldn't see what they were saying. And I was also so embarrassed because now he just saw all of those Snapchats from all the people I was talking to. I realized I basically only told, like, one story, but yeah, I'd say they're definitely not as strict as a lot of other parents, but yeah, in comparison to how my friends' parents were, they seemed very, like, strict and over the top. But really, they were just being protective, and they raised good kids, so it all worked out.
Story time, so make sure you grab a snack, sit back, relax, and let's get on with the chisme. So this story is about the time I almost got arrested over a little girl who had a crush on me. This is going to be the first half of the story because there is a second part to this story now. So let's get on with it. A little background information on this little girl. I met her while I was streaming on my live on Minecraft. Both her and I started a Minecraft world together, and it was just something normal. It was nothing strange so far. And all of my friends knew about her. They knew I would play with her. So then randomly a few weeks later, after the Minecraft world, she DMs me and she says that she has to tell me something. So I respond with, sure, what is it? She then proceeds to say, well, I've had a crush on you ever since I first started talking to you. Just so you guys know, this little girl is 13 years old and I'm 19. So I responded and I'm like, oh, well, I'm dating somebody already. Just to let the girl down easily. After I said that, she just completely switched up and she ended up blowing up on me. She responds with, well, that's probably a lie since all you do is play games all day. So then that's when I told her that I'm 19. She then responds and she was like, well, if you don't date me, I'm gonna end up calling the cops on you. So she told me she was gonna call the cops on me if I didn't date her, even though she was 13 and I told her that I was 19. I still told her no, even after she threatened me. But then fast forward to the beginning of 2020, right? Some cops showed up at my door claiming that I have essayed this kid. And I had to explain to them that I'm taken by 3 different people and those people don't include a 13-year-old girl. I told her those 3 people don't include her at all, like she's not one of them. So then after many court cases and explanations, she finally decided to tell the truth. And when she did tell the truth, she said she accused me of these things because she thought I really loved her and that I was lying that I didn't. After all of this happened, I ended up blocking her on everything, and then a couple months later, like 4 weeks ago, she DM'd me saying that she wanted to make up with me. After she told me she wanted to make up, she started making sly remarks about how my girlfriend is fat, how all my boyfriends are ugly, and how she is so much better than all of them. So of course I told her off, and I told her that if she contacted me again, I would be pressing charges for harassment. I didn't press charges before because I felt bad, you know? She then said that if she can't have me, no one can have me.